So um, I'm happy to see that it's going on. So I'll be talking about the Padcaster. I'm in the School of Environment and Natural Resources, which is part of the College of Food, Ag, and Environmental Science. And we really wanted a solution for recording videos because our online presence is ever increasing. We have a lot more online courses that are coming on board, especially in my school. And we have a lot of in-person courses that are using student projects that require multimedia, sound, and video. And we also have a big presence of professional networks, a lot of extension work in the school, and everyone is very interested in creating more video. So before now, we've just sent everyone over to the DU. And this has posed kind of an issue for us on Ag Campus. I know a lot of you are probably in Mount Hall. We're very separated from main campus. And so it's kind of a challenge for a lot of our faculty to get over to main campus sometimes. Our students are sometimes reluctant to cross the river. And especially when we have outside people come in to interview one-on-one, parking is an issue. So it's just a huge time sink to have them park over at our building and then try to bus or walk over to main campus. Plus, a few faculty have talked about scheduling issues in the DU being an issue as well. So we really wanted something locally in our building on our campus that we could use to record video. So our main objective was to deploy a common user-friendly technology that could not be used just indoors recording studio, but could also be dual purpose and be taken outside as well. As you can imagine, in the environmental sciences, we're in gardens, we're in farm fields, we're in forests, we're in rivers, and we want to capture all those moments as well. So we were pointed to the Padcaster to pilot. So I was given a unit, and it looks like pretty similar to the package that you have here. And what we liked about it is that it uses the iPad Pro, so we really liked that it ties into the digital flagship initiative, that this would be a common tool set that our students would be familiar with, our faculty would increasingly be familiar with, and so this just ties in very naturally. We liked that it came with 3 wired mics, and we've tested each of those. We felt that the quality of the equipment is good from what we've seen, and we liked the teleprompter because that's also been a big ask from faculty as well when they're giving lectures. And we also liked that it didn't tie you into a specific recording app. So we had some leverage on if we wanted to use the built-in camera or if we wanted to download a separate app. So here's some of the piloting we've done so far. We've gone out into the field. I did an Amish field trip with one of our Amish Society courses we're developing. We just went out into the gardens to do some testing, and we've done some testing inside as well. And I have videos of these if anybody would like to see any of the testing we've done. So some of the challenges we've had, and we've talked with the rep certainly about these. I'll talk about this picture first. So when you are recording outside, the back of the iPad is shiny, and so the light hits the back and reflects back into the camera, and you end up with this like white orb in the middle of your shot. So the rep does have some stickers that you're supposed to put on the back of the iPad to black it out, and that's supposed to take care of that. So just something to be thoughtful of. Another issue we had was when the Padcaster was brand new, the case was very, very tight, and it took a long time to work the iPad in for the first time. So the thought is, if we get a fleet of these, maybe we have a dedicated iPad that we just leave it in the case, so it's in there and it stays there, and people don't have to worry about potentially breaking the screen on the iPad, working it in and out. And then we also had an issue where we were trying to fit everything together for the first time, and the adapter broke. All of the mics require an adapter to work with the iPad. So the adapter broke. We worked with the rep to fix that as well. But the more and more I'm working with the mics, I particularly like the sound quality on this reporter style mic, the best from the 3 that we've seen. But the more and more we're using it, the more I'm just not using any mic at all, and instead just referring to the built-in mic in the iPad. I find it works fine, and especially if you put it into an iMovie or something, you can clean it up pretty well, especially for inside environments. And that's pretty much all I had. So here's my contact information. If you have questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them and discuss our work further. Yep.
So if you can stay up there a little bit.
Yeah.
What questions from a user experience, I think Hunting has a lot of experience with it, would you like to ask? What things arise off the back of this?
Who are like the primary users for the Padcaster page? You mentioned faculty staff students. Who's using it the most?
So right now, just me, because we only have one. So we're currently building a recording studio, and it's still in the process of being built. Our hope is that it will be live in spring semester, and it'll be using primarily the Padcaster for recording. So there'll be a Padcaster set in there, and then our hope is to have 5 more for faculty or students to check out. And we still have not developed what that's going to look like. But previously, from talking with my faculty, the people most interested in using it are faculty for course development, and then faculty want to lead students through. So there's one class in particular where they block out a huge portion of the DU, and the faculty and TAs are there to help students with their project. So there'll be a couple instances of that. Yeah. Yeah.
After setting it up this time, about how long does it take you to set it up from getting out of thing to actually record something?
Oh, I say I can get it done within 5 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, it's just real. Now that the case is nice and warmed up, I can just pop it in. And yeah, I essentially just use this setup. The mic goes on really easily.
And then also, are you treating, like, once you've got the recording studio set up, is it going to be set up so that other people can just come in and use it, or is it always that you'll be there sort of operating for them?
The hope is for it to be all user-led. So we'll do some training, and my office happens to be right across from it, so I'm sure I'll be in there quite often. But the hope is once they use it the first or second time that they can just come in and be familiar with it. Yeah. 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 Mm-hmm.
How's the outside stuff, like the outside video versus the inside video? Are you pretty happy with the quality of it? Or?
Yeah, I am. The sound has been good on either end. We really haven't had much wind interference. So.
And then when it comes to apps, are there apps that you purchase in addition to the built-in camera lenses?
Yeah.
Or apps that you like?
Right. So I've been using Filmic Pro, has been my app of choice. It seems to have a much wider view than the standard, and then you can adjust sound and lighting and a whole bunch of stuff in it. So that's definitely the one that I use, that I default to. Yeah, I think it depends. There's a base that you can get that I think is 15, and then if you do like the $25 option, it comes with a whole bunch of other really techy advanced settings that I don't have the expertise for. So I just went for the 15. There we go.
So, any 19 other people want to go in and on over this? So, Scott, you work with this Padcaster as well, right?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Would you mind, and
Yeah.
welcome to stay up there with them, talking about a little bit. Is Kyle here? Okay. Scott, do you mind even while
Sure.
we just throw you on the, if you wouldn't mind
Mind going up?
by the microphone and you're
Sure.
Yeah.
just stay up there and
Sounds good.
Sure. I don't know what to say.
We can't ask any questions making it uncomfortable.
Yeah, I prefer comfort.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you, Connie.
We'll share. All right, so the Padcaster, right? So especially with the iPads, right? Really, a lot of the things go down to the quality of the camera in the iPad, right? And so they have some older Padcaster kits, like we had one that's on an iPad Mini that we still have, but we also now have some of these kits as well through the digital flagship stuff. We're kind of in a similar boat. We're trying to figure out processes for people to use them, but there's tons of potential, and the fact that it makes a standard user, it makes it easily accessible to a standard user, I think is huge, right? And so especially because, like I said, the app quality, the iPad quality, that all kind of matters. I know Scott has some more suggestions. That Scott probably does too, but this Scott also has a lot of great Scots here. He has more like options, I think, free apps as well that he will suggest. That he also, I know he says he doesn't prefer to use the regular camera, the standard camera app, but at the same time, it's one that everyone has on their iPad. And it's easy just to say, hey, use this as well. And so, are there any questions like that? I don't feel like I have as much experience using it in that sense. Yeah.
The question is that you talk about more about a specific project that a faculty member can use this for, or and then you show the videos to the other people.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Yeah. So the only, and I'll go back to those pictures real fast. But the only project that we're working on right now with the Padcaster is developing the Amish Society course. So we took a field trip out to somewhere in Ohio, and no, it was Northwest. I should know what it is because I grew up near there. But so we just went out to the communities, and it was mostly images. Here's the Padcaster here. I've used it to film our ride in the buggy, and really, so here I just use, there's a table tripod, so I just opted to use that in the field instead of bringing the big tripod with me. But this is the only field trip that we've used it for so far, and then the rest has been standard testing that we did specifically to test the Padcaster.
And then the follow-up, and you're trying to use the course and then these videos. So cameras, like how do you?
Oh, so we will take a lot of the images, a lot of the video, and splice it into the lecture video, or if there's a specific case that we want them to analyze, we'll just create a clip. For our videos in the school, we load everything to YouTube, do all the closed captioning there, and then we embed the YouTube in a page in Carmen. Yep. Yeah.
Have you thought about student workflows yet, or do you have like, can you talk about your student workflow? Maybe Scott can.
I have ideas. So that, right, like the magic behind, right, like this sort of thing is not what instructors or faculty and staff do, right? It's what students are doing to show their learning, right? And one, we could also use those projects to further our courses in the future, which is great. I see it as having some sort of device. Again, I haven't fully figured it out. But one, getting the students, just using the iPad and knowing to use it even without the Padcaster first, right? Especially because there's limited amounts of Padcasters. But also then having them, teaching them the methods of taking good video, right? So where your eyes are, what the lighting looks like, all those things, sound quality, how to kind of manage that, and then having them teach them those things, and then getting them on the Padcaster one as a tripod, right, to keep it steady. But just to kind of tell their stories and to give them a voice and help them show their learning in that way. So I guess I'm vague in the sense of I don't know the workflow, how that will absolutely look. But it'd be really great just to have it available as for instructors, maybe during like office hours, to lend it out for a day or whatever, to allow them to snap in their iPad once it gets a little warmed up, snap in their iPad, and then take video, maybe even like show the professors where they're at currently during that time, right? Just like a check-in, and then be able to hopefully get feedback if the instructor is able to, that way as well.
We do like a lot of video projects. People, social work, so counseling skills.
Yeah.
Stuff. And like 3/4 of the students, no problem. That other quarter of the students, like no matter what, like they're never gonna get it.
Okay.
Just looking for it.
So how do you, so like, versus using like a swivel or something like that too, right? So you have other options that could kind of capture that as well. But what's nice about the tripod is really technically one person can take even video of themselves with that. Yeah, Mike.
Am I remembering correctly that there were a couple different like options outside of like, is there like some like mobile stabilizing thing that's not tripod based, or is the Padcaster strictly like stagnant on tripod?
Like the Osmo type of a deal?
I thought there was a version that was just maybe that was for the mini, for the phone. That's what it was. Well, no. The second part of that question
Yeah.
was assuming that was the case, but apparently isn't. If there were like plans with different use cases based around different like setups.
Sure.
Yeah, so I haven't used this exclusively on the tripod. You can just take the top off and hold it. I think you might be thinking of the isographer, which is another product, but it looks kind of like a stabilizer. It has two handles on either side with the iPad or iPhone, whatever you want to put in it. And then for our students, we really just see them using it within the studio and not really taking it out into the field.
I'd love to share a couple of use cases. So, thank you. I'll try not to ruffle this too much. So I will be frank, I love the Padcaster. I don't actually use it myself, but I actually love it. And the reason being, so Doug, you could probably relate to this too, and many of you. I oftentimes get so many instructors calling us or asking us, we want to do this video, or we want to do that. Do you guys have cameras that we can check out or that we can borrow? And the answer is always no, because we're not going to just hand over a $3,500 camera, plus all the accessories and parts that go with it, and expect you to know how to use it as an instructor. It's just not helpful. But if I can simply say, do you have an iPad? And I can have an awesome case that they can set up and use, then it's great. Right now I have an instructor, actually this just happened, where they have an amazing lecturer who is teaching this semester, and they're putting that course online next semester. And so in anticipation for that, they asked if we at OD would come and film his lectures every Tuesday and Thursday. And my response is no, we can't do that. We just don't have the manpower to do that. But they were able to secure an iPad and a TA, and I was able to do 10 minutes of training with them on how to set up the Padcaster. And now they are recording those lectures every Tuesday and Thursday. So when that course goes online, it's ready to go rather than other options. We've also had instructors that we've worked on online courses for that do a lot of study abroad and kind of mission trip courses. And again, it's a great opportunity where I'm not going to give you a $3,500 to take somewhere and have a bunch of students use, but they have their own iPad, and I can give them a case and some extra equipment, and they can bring back some great content that we can't necessarily go out and get all the time. And so those are two cases that have happened recently for us. And again, it's the idea that with digital flagship going on, more and more people are going to have the iPad readily available. So we don't have to give them an expensive camera, but we can give them an awesome case that they can do. Same thing with the iPhone. And I don't know if you brought the iPhone case with you, and maybe Scott and I should have grabbed one, but they have a similar product for I shouldn't say the iPhone, but for smaller mobile phones. What's incredible to me is the camera on our smartphones and these tablets are 4 times better than the camera I started my production company with 8 years ago. And it's super accessible. And so for us to be able to empower instructors and students to start being able to create on their own, never before in the history of video production has it been so accessible and so affordable. It's still, a lot of these instructors, they don't have the money to go out and buy an expensive camera, relatively expensive, or a DSLR and manage all the lenses that come with it and all the peripherals. So again, it's not for everyone. It's not for me as the video producer who is shooting really high quality videos. It's for the entry-level consumer that doesn't have the money for a high-end camera or can't maintain that. So I oftentimes hear people, they don't get, like, I don't get why you'd want to shoot a video on an iPad or an iPhone. It's not for that person. But you can actually do really amazing videos. I have a couple videos that I've only shot with my iPhone and an iPad, and then I've edited strictly on the iPad. But again, it's thinking about who's our audience here and who's this really for. Yeah.
And your loaner kits do you have different heads or mounts then, depending on whatever version of the iPad they have, or do you always support the Pro?
So we have a couple of the Pro for the digital flagship. As Scott was saying, the one that's checked out right now is for the iPad Mini. This was one of the first ones that we got when I first came across the Padcaster. And they have all the inserts for all the different kinds, so I could see in the near future that we have 3 or 4 different ones available, and you can pop the inserts in and out of the frame. Yeah.
And with this frame, there's professional mounts around this, so you can add all kinds of extra gear and make this and kind of grow into it. So you can start with a simple, just the case itself, and then as you become more comfortable with it, go out and invest in a light or invest in more mics or invest in external recorders or whatever it may be. So that's what I like, the customization of it. You can make it as simple or as big as you want. And Doug, kind of going along those lines, even if you don't have the tripod, just being able to put it in this case, it makes it so much more stable because you're adding a little bit more weight, you're adding a little bit more mass, you're getting your hands off the iPad itself, so you're not rubbing up against the microphone, and it just makes it so much easier to shoot in this case, even if you're not using the tripod. And so those are some of the things to think about as well. Yeah.
So do your loaner kits contain microphones? So in the example of the PA you recruited, do they just shoot with a tripod in the case, or do you also give them a mic?
So that one we gave them a Rode shotgun mic to put on the front because we didn't want them to have to worry about batteries on both the transmitter and the receiver. We didn't want them to worry about having to get the instructor mic'd up and, you know, they're always looking the wrong way or they're muting it and not forgetting to turn back on. So we suggested, again, just putting the shotgun mic on and staying maybe in like the second row was kind of our recommendation. Again, she was shooting on the iPad mini as well, so the camera on that isn't as amazing as it is on the Pros. And again, in low light, they're not amazing. I mean, they're not designed for low light filming. So outside, the video looks great as long as you're not shooting into the sun. Inside, it's gotten a lot better, but in anything probably less than what we have here, it starts to become a little problematic. So that's kind of my experience. Hopefully that wasn't too lectury, but I just want to kind of share that, yeah.
I just have a question for everyone, like for Colleen and Scott. In terms of getting the files off the iPad, is there any issues? I imagine the files are pretty chunky. Like what's kind of your workflow or is there any issues transferring videos off?
For me, using AirDrop has just been amazing, but I have a Mac laptop and it's very simple to get those off. You can also link it up with Buckeye Box, which is a little challenging because just the time it takes to upload and encrypt and all that. But typically I'm using AirDrop as my means of getting the content off there, or I'm just editing it in iMovie right on the iPad. I don't know what your experience has been.
So also AirDrop. I have a very nice Mac on my computer, so that's what I exclusively work from. And the longest video I've done is an hour and change, and it took like 3 minutes for it to transfer over, but it wasn't too bad. So, but with the recording studio, we're working through right now, like how we're supposed to get the video off the iPad into the end user, and we don't know. Ideally, it would be nice if it would just write directly to Box, but we really haven't found a solution for that. So trying to think if we want to put a Mac in there to AirDrop it and then put it on Box, we still haven't figured that part out.
No, I think I would do. I mean, I am also a Mac user, but like I think I would probably do the Buckeye Box thing and just have it sent to Buckeye Box. Especially, but I guess it'd be a shared iPad, so that might I guess that might be challenging. I don't know. Does anyone else have any ideas for PC users?
Does the box app? I think the box app recompresses the video. Yeah, maybe it's a setting.
No, it's archived. We just have to upload things to Fox because I was looking into it for those sort of methods. And so if you upload stuff, it doesn't decompress anything.
Yeah, for the preview, it would definitely preview its own independent preview.
Unfortunately, the box was taking 3 centuries to download it since we have like download speed.
Yeah, EHE's One Button Studio records directly to a department box. So we're trying, what I think, do you?
I was going to say, I mean, we also have the Lightning to USB adapters, and now with the new Macs, you can do file share very easily. So you could have instructors, I mean, you have the adapter for them, essentially plug a thumb drive in like you would in the One Touch Studio and drop stuff over.
That's a great idea.
I'm done. See you.
All right. So thanks. Maybe now we'll switch over to Scott number 3, and
Nice to see you
he
again.
can
I want you to
talk
hold,
about
just sit here and hold
Oh,
that
okay.
too.
Just look at it.
How you guys doing?
Great.
You guys are making this easy. You're talking nice about Padcaster. Like,
Well, they're just wait for it to leave, and then on it is going to say things.
You can talk all the smack about it.
Well, he does that with everything. Fortunately, this is a recorded game.
I'm going to flip it so the mic's actually not like inside my shirt. There we go. All right, awesome. So, yeah, welcome. My name is Scott. I'm with Padcaster, hence the fun shirt. The one thing I'll leave you with today, Scott, you said, and by the way, my mom used to tell me I'd never met a Scott I didn't like, so we're good here. But you did mention that one thing that we can't easily solve. You said there's a limited number of Padcasters. There could potentially be an infinite number of Padcasters at Ohio State if you wanted it to be. So just let me know. I can get as many here as you possibly need. So yeah, I mean, everyone else here does not have experience with Padcaster, correct? Okay. So what I thought I would do is just not clip my hand in a tripod, but I'm going to bring this thing down a little bit because it is like NBA level ridiculously high.
You wanted to show the full capacity.
That most definitely is.
All equipment.
That is the fullest capacity of that tripod. So what I'd like to do is I will show you kind of how to set it up, what the pieces are, and then just kind of open up to a Q&A from there. Does that sound good?
If you need a favor, just repeat the questions a little
Yeah.
bit at the beginning of your answer so that the folks watching at home
Yeah.
can get the content.
So you have our tripod here. You also have the Padcaster right here. It just connects to the tripod via the tripod plate. Everything else in this setup is a hand tighten, so you don't need to go crazy on the tightening. The only one that I would recommend doing a little bit of a stronger tighten is this screw right here at the bottom of the tripod plate. A quarter works great, flathead screwdriver. It also has a little hand turn as well, but I just put a quarter in there, give it an extra just little turn. That keeps this nice and tight, so that way it's not going to rattle on the tripod. Push the button, put it in. We obviously have a tripod with our system, but it will work with any tripod, and so as long as the tripod has a mounting plate, it's just a standard mounting adapter right there. And so if you're using this and you have other tripods, you have smaller level tripods or other types that you want to use, it'll work with this. Conversely, our tripod will work with other pieces as well. So you have GoPros you want to use with the tripod, go for it. That's where I do mention when you guys do take this and store it, I highly recommend, some people will just take this off the tripod, store it with the plate just on there. It's one less thing I have to unscrew. I don't recommend that because if this is over there in that room and you come and grab the tripod, a tripod without the plate doesn't do you much good. So, just keep that in mind. Take your iPad. I love the 10.5s you guys have. So, as was mentioned earlier, it can be a little tough getting the iPad in here. Over time, the plastic will kind of break in, so it will kind of warm up. The best way that I found to put it in there is just put the bottom edge there. Obviously, you're going to want the camera to go into the camera lens socket there, but bottom end there, and then I just kind of push on this side of the iPad, and then mostly push on the back side of the Padcaster here. So kind of take it and just push that kind of top lip over, get my finger down there, just kind of flip those over, and then you're good to go. Don't want you to break your iPads, but I will say, like Kylie mentioned, you don't want to break it by pushing it too hard. I will also say that you can put a pretty good amount of pressure on the front of an iPad without breaking it. Like they are meant to be relatively firm. Also, I will say, the nice thing about having it hard to get in there is it's also not going to pop out while you're out there shooting or moving around with it. So I have my iPad in there. The tripod has a bunch of different connectors. You can make it looser. I'm going to loosen that up so it kind of turns a little bit better or a little easier. There we go. All right. The rest of everything else fits inside of this backpack. You took it all out. There's nothing there. So everything fits in the backpack. I'll just kind of go through and set up kind of a normal Padcaster setup. So the first thing, as Scott was mentioning earlier, is our shotgun mic right here. So I'll just take this. I went too fast, I should have. At the bottom of it is the same as what's at the bottom of this, just a little 4/4 adapter, just a little hand tighten screw right here, which you just hand tighten with your hand. There are 24 different adapter points along the edge of the Padcaster. So I could put this anywhere I want to put it. We just kind of normally mount it right here. So this is our main microphone. As was mentioned earlier too, you do need to use this splitter with the iPad. So I take this, just kind of feed it through. You didn't mention cons. I will be perfectly honest. The other con too is sometimes getting this cord into the iPad. You have to kind of fish it through, take it, push it in there, and just kind of get it shoved in. Little fingers help, which I don't have, but you kind of push on that side. The nice thing now is I can now unplug this mic and then replug in any mic using this cord right here. I will say this, a couple times I'll say like some of these things are not Padcaster issues, they're just not even issues, it's just iPad specific ways of working with audio. And so just don't want to do like a dumb down lesson, but the reason we need this splitter is basic sense in iPad, the audio coming out of the iPad is always headphones. That's just like a one-way street going out, headphones. If you plug any mic, not a Padcaster, just any mic, a Rode mic into an iPad, nothing's going to happen. It's like two roads hitting each other, audio out, audio in. So we use this splitter, which is a headphone and microphone splitter, which is also different from like when my wife and I take a trip, like we'll get the one iPod, plug in the headphone splitter, like two headphones. That's an audio splitter that actually just takes one audio and divides it. This actually turns a one-lane highway into a two-lane highway. So it allows audio to not only go out the iPad, but also come in. I will say, like, there's nothing proprietary about our cord. We provide one. If you guys can get, we sell more of these. If you can get other cords. I just want to make sure if you're like buying splitter cords, like don't buy the cheapest splitter that just takes 1 to 2 headphones. Like that's not going to accomplish your goal. So just make sure it has a microphone, a headphone, and with that, we have some videos online that show it better, but this is plugged in wrong. On the very edge of these on these knobs, there's a picture of a microphone, a picture of a headphone. So make sure that you have the microphone plugged into the microphone, headphone, and the headphone. It's going to help you out a lot more. You have them flipped, I mean, go for it. It's not going to work. The last thing that I will say too, it's funny, we sell headphones that come with our system. You can use any headphones you want here. I see you guys plugging in headphones there to check sound. It works out really well. If you're doing outdoor shooting, to check the sound levels, make sure sound's working. The thing that I have noticed, and it's becoming harder and harder, is just make sure that you use headphones that are headphones and don't have a microphone connected to them. That can also mess things up. So like, see like the Apple ones that come with it, all of those almost, I'm assuming those have the integrated microphone. Almost all your students at college are going to have the plug-in. It's like hit or miss. Most of the time it doesn't work because now you're adding a microphone into a headphone feed, which is now causing the same thing. So it's becoming oddly increasingly harder to find headphones specific, like just headphones. But just make sure you're using headphones that don't have a mic attached. Even with that mic turned off, it can sometimes be a little dodgy. So that's the piece about sound. Yes, I'll take questions later. No, I'm just
Is it possible to get stereo sound into the recording?
Yes. Yeah.
Through the same adapter?
Yep, through the same adapter. Yeah.
You need a stereo mic, and I don't think that those ship with stereo mics.
Right. Yeah. I will also say I don't want to spend like too much time on sound, but like this is the key of the whole setup, and like sound is really the biggest. When shooting with an iPad, that's always the biggest concern is getting sound. We do stability audio, optics, things like that. So yes, you need a stereo mic. This is more mono. We do come with the 3 mics. We have this one. We have the stick mic, which I can just unplug, plug in, a lavalier mic. They're all wired. If you want to use wireless mics like this one here, it's not a problem. I'd be wearing this, and then on the Padcaster, I would just take that receiver and just plug that receiver into this part here. The great thing is that receiver has the 420 screw. We sell the Rode wireless mics. It screws in right here, and you just have the receiver on the top of the Padcaster. With this setup, so you can use any wireless mic you want. We also sell wireless mics. We just, from a perspective, the difference between a wired lavalier mic is like $70. A wireless lavalier mic is like $390. And so just for us to keep the kind of base package at a relative price, we don't feature that as kind of an option, but it's there. I will also say that any mics you guys already have will work with our system so long as they can go down to a 3.5-inch auxiliary input, which almost every mic can do. I don't want to say every mic because I'm sure there's some weird Austrian mic that doesn't, but I mean the majority of mics will. So if you guys already have mics, like this mic will work with our system. So like we mentioned earlier, this I always say like, this is kind of like an erector or a Lego set. Like you can build out. We're giving you the basis point. You can build out and utilize the stuff you already have. We also kind of on the stereo point. Right now, it's one microphone that you can use at a time. So I want to use the lav. I got to swap out, plug that in. If you want to use multiple mics, that's also not a problem. You just need to get like a mixer that allows you to be a DJ and do wiki woos and thing on the ear. It comes with a big marshmallow head. It's fantastic. Lots of glow sticks. No, you're going to need a mixer, which basically just allows you to plug multiple mics into one apparatus, and then that has one cord coming out that plugs into the iPad. We sell a 2-channel mixer and a 4-channel mixer, 2-channel for 2 mics, 4 for 4. Both of those will actually connect on the side of the Padcaster here. We provide Velcro straps. It straps on. It's just an adapter right there. You can go as crazy as you want. There's 8-channel, 16-channel, 32-channel, 64-channel mixers. It goes up to like 64-channel mixers, like $10,000 or more. I mean, they're insane. But like, I mean, so you can have as many mics as you possibly want. Again, we just kind of start with a basis point. The last thing on the audio, I'll talk a little bit about apps today too. Like Kylie mentioned, one of the things that we like is that we are kind of app agnostic. We allow you to use whatever apps you want to use on your system. Padcaster is coming out with our own app. Probably in about 5 to 6 weeks, we're coming out with an app, or that's the goal. It'll be free for anybody who has the hardware, so that's not an issue for you guys to worry about. I think there will be a cost on it just to put some value on the iTunes store. Our app is going to focus on recording, green screening, live streaming. That said, doesn't stop you from using other apps as well. And we still have apps we recommend. The reason we have apps we recommend is there are some apps out there that don't work well and or don't work at all with an external microphone. It is something within an app that has to be written to allow the iPad to accept an external microphone. So I'm not saying that there's apps out there that work that maybe we haven't recommended. We haven't had time to check all of them. We just have a set that we know work well. If you're doing one off that list, you might very well I would check and make sure that it works with an external microphone. The reason somebody said earlier we don't really recommend the standard Apple recording app is that that's one of the few apps that actually doesn't work well with an external microphone. Apple just doesn't, it will work sometimes, it doesn't work other times. Good luck getting the specs of Apple's native apps. We're trying. They're not really providing it much. So we're not so Apple is not the app